Hello, Avila Advantage Economics students. You are starting this course in a time period where the markets are a bit crazy. People are concerned about the coronavirus, and hopefully it's a little bit overreaction right now, but right now the market is interpreting that we're headed to slower economic growth in the future. That's why it's corrected so much. But it's a unique opportunity for you to be taking this course right now with economics. We'll kind of see how this plays out with the coronavirus, and hopefully we'll not end up in a pandemic, but if that is the case, we will likely experience a recession, which is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in gross domestic product, something we'll learn about later in the course. But for this week, I'm going to post this video a little bit earlier. I will typically post these on Sunday to give you a preview for the week ahead. So kind of think that our week always starts at Monday and finishes at Sunday at midnight. So you're more than welcome to work ahead on this course, especially for the homework, not so much the forum discussions, but encourage you for the writing assignments and the homework. And the homework is done through Pearson, so I put that out there as an announcement in the link. And it's under, you'll have to go to My Econ Lab and look for Barnhill 79557. And I see that a couple of people have already registered already, so it's imperative that you do that. I'm giving you unlimited attempts on these homework questions. So what I'll just do is, like, say you got 100% on the homework questions in Pearson, my lab, that would transfer, and I'd have to move it over to our learning management system to update it that way. So unfortunately, I have to kind of go back and forth between 2 systems to update your grade, but we'll figure it out. So some of the things that I wanted to cover this week. First, just make sure you go through the course completely, especially for the things before week 1. And in week 1, go through what you're expected to do this week. You're asked to do an introductory post, follow the directions there, and then also do a quick 5-question quiz, and then also do your homework problems, anything it asked of you. But I want to go over some of the topics that you're going to look at in weeks 1, chapters 1 and 2, and there's an appendix in chapter 1. I'd recommend you do that. If it's been a while, you've taken some math, that will help you with the graphing and understand the graphs. But it talks about the difference between micro and macroeconomics. This is a macroeconomic course, so we'll look at things like unemployment, gross domestic product, inflation. Micro typically looks at choices of the individual or the firm. So we'll cover some of the basics. Economic principles in the beginning, but eventually lead to macroeconomic topics. And hopefully everyone will have this book. It's online, I believe, for you all, and that's where you're going to get your access code to get into the My Econ Lab for my course. So with that, the textbook talks about self-interest, that individuals are expected to be rational and make rational choices. I was talking to my wife about this earlier today, about if you go to a Home Depot, any hardware store today, you try to find an air mask, you're not going to find them on the shelves, because everybody is going out of concern, and they're stocking up on these air masks. But the doctors are telling us that the air masks aren't going to protect you from the coronavirus. It only helps prevent the virus being spread to someone else. So you can still pick it up. But it's interesting how markets have reacted so quickly. That something that was probably rarely bought is now in scarce demand. I'm sure the manufacturers are having a hard time keeping up with it. So it begs the question of whether people are being rational or not. Are they buying something they don't really need, or driving up the price, or maybe another entrepreneur is buying them all up and hoping he can sell them online, or she can sell them online to make a nice profit on them. But we make assumptions about that in markets, that people are being rational, that there's a term you'll read about, ceteris paribus, other things held constant. So when we look at these graphs, when we look at these relationships, we're making these assumptions hold in order for the model to work. Now, you're also going to look at the ideas of a normative versus positive analysis. Positive analysis is something we can measure. It doesn't mean positive is a good thing. It just says, hey, the current unemployment rate right now is 3.6%. Well, if these global fears result in the coronavirus causing economic slowdown, we're probably going to see unemployment go up, which is not a good thing. Or we can talk about the Federal Reserve next month in March. Will they cut interest rates 25 basis points? A normative analysis is an opinion statement. So if I say something like the Fed should cut interest rates next month to help the markets out, or help individuals feel better about the economy, or continue spending, because if the coronavirus does kick in, everybody's going to stop spending. That's what's happening to some of these, like travel companies. They're going to take a hit because if nobody travels, they lose money, and then they're going to have to lay people off. So that's what we hope does not happen. Chapter 2, you're going to look more like at capital, so the idea like human capital, land, labor. I would argue too, there's things today we call like social and cultural capital. Think about those students trying to get into college and knowing how to prepare for the ACT. Some parents have helped them, or they've coached them, or they've gone to good schools. If you don't come from a background or in a school district that maybe prepares you as well, you may not have some of that social or cultural capital to help you navigate the systems and get into the better colleges. So something interesting to look at now. And I know I think it was the whole college admission scandal. Reading something yesterday about that, but the wealthy individuals were trying to give them an advantage to get into some of these more prestigious schools. So with that, the main thing of that chapter is the reduction possibility curve. It's a very simple model. It says within a given time period, kind of has a bowed out shape, because that law of increasing opportunity cost, that we can only produce so many goods and services in a given time period. Now the model just assumes like guns and butter is the basic example. It could be other goods, but it's a trade-off. So as I try to produce more guns and more butter, I have to sacrifice more each time. Now they also say in a given time period, the curve is fixed. Now let's say that because of the coronavirus scare, it does get worse, would almost be saying we get to an inefficient point inside the curve. Okay, if you're on the curve, it's an efficient point. But if something happens, if there's a recession, it's almost saying that we're not at the ideal point of what we could be producing in the economy with our given available resources. Now in a given time period, we're kind of fixed, but in the next time period, technology, more people, improvements can shift that curve out. But in the given time period, we're kind of fixed with that. And within this, it's also going to discuss the idea of absolute advantage and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage means, like, say that we're looking at two nations, say France and England, and maybe France can produce more wine per person and more textiles per person. They would have an absolute advantage. It requires less resources. But in terms of comparative advantage and opportunity cost, it may behoove France to just produce wine and let the British produce the textiles, because if the French decide to switch to producing textiles, maybe they have to give up a whole bunch of wine in their production. So they have to look at comparative opportunity cost, and it's saying, hey, let that nation that can do it at a lower opportunity cost do so. So you think about us and Japan. We produce a lot of wheat. We're very good at it. Japan produces a lot of small engines for your Honda lawnmowers. Well, Japan doesn't have a lot of land, so it would require a lot of sacrifice of giving up small lawnmower motors to produce wheat. And we would probably have to give up a lot of wheat to produce small lawnmower parts. So it says, hey, Japan, you focus on Honda pushable motors. The United States, you focus on wheat. We engage with trade with each other, and we get to a point outside our production possibility curve. So that's the big benefit of trade. And that's probably one of the biggest concerns of markets right now. If the global economy in China and other places are slowing down, and we're not trading with each other as much, that lowers our standard of living. So that's important in today's economy. So those are some of the main concepts. Again, I'll post one of these every week. If you do have any questions, do send it to me in the email in our learning management system. I will not be checking email every single day, but every other day I'll try to respond as soon as possible. And with the forum discussions, I will tell you guys too that I will probably just be observing. I might jump in once in a while, but I'm going to let you pretty much run the forum discussions. Keep it respectable, polite, support your arguments and those things when you post in the forum discussions. But I won't be replying to every single forum discussion. I may jump in once in a while. But other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. Our course will officially kick off on Monday. But other than that, I look forward to talking to you online. Take care.